Awesome.
Welcome to What Turns You On podcast. I am Kaelen Marie, your host, and I am so excited today to be here with Goddess Ahnuusha. Let me just give you a little bit of her juiciness that I'm going to share. This woman is transcendent, and once you understand what I'm talking about, we're going to just dive right in with her. Ahnuusha, born Michelle Lee, is an erotic love shaman, multidimensional goddess, and scientist of the underworld. Her journey blends science and spirituality, which includes academic expertise with Indigenous healing wisdom, which includes teachings in transpersonal psychotherapy, yoga philosophy, Reiki, and shared feminine touch. Sacred feminine touch. Wow. Doing good today, aren't I? We're rolling with it. Additionally, she is a published author. And this is so beautiful. She published a book, a children's book, with her aunt who passed away. And so this is something that is very dear and treasured to her soul. And I'm so happy that we get to learn that about this glorious woman. She is a therapeutic coach, a spiritual mentor, and a ceremonialist. She ignites transformation in others, guiding them to live out their soul's purpose with love and liberation. Ahnuusha co founded youth programs for Indigenous youth, directed a renowned nonprofit, and co founded a Waldorf school. She's now creating the Sacred Center for Unity Arts, a powerful space for blending sexuality, sovereignty, and stillness. She's going to be offering courses, workshops, retreats, and memberships. Please welcome Goddess Ahnuusha. So happy to have you here, my love.
I am so honored to be with you, Sister Goddess Kaelen. It's just such a turn on, actually, that you have started this podcast right from the get-go. I knew that I wanted to be on here, like as soon as I heard you like put this out in the world.
Oh, thank you. It was so fun because you and I have connected in because she and I are also in the certification program to for pleasure coaching through Mama Gina's work. And she and I have had opportunities throughout the program to connect up one-on-one and oh my gosh, I'm just so excited you're here. So girl, tell me what turns you on?
Oh, all right. Well, the first thing I want to do is I actually want to acknowledge the land that I'm here on and that I'm like broadcasting out to. So I've had this deep privilege since age 23 to work with Indigenous people, to be called into community, to learn and grow and share. And I currently live and work on and in the territory of the Coast Salish people. And I work really closely with the Squamish Nation, with Squamish speaking people. And I live on that land. And I feel really like it turns me on so much that I have like this massive ocean out in front of me, eagles singing all the time. And it connects me all the way back to my land of origin. So my ancestors are English and Irish that I know of. And there's like this energy that like right from a young youth, right? 23, I was called in to work with the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island. So it's a big part of my life, and I want to acknowledge it and honor it and love it up. So thank you for just bringing it in.
Like, as you're talking, like, I just keep getting goosebumps, like, head to toe. I'm like, this is you.
Mm.
This is this embodiment of your soul purpose, your life. You have always been meant to do this. And what a gift that you were able to be so in tune, so open, so ready at such a young, youthful, impressionable age, knowing that there was something big that was coming for you. Talk to me
Uh,
about this experience of
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I really want to um, highlight the privilege because as a white woman, as a Caucasian privileged white woman, it has been a massive challenge and a humbling experience.
Mm.
And again, coming back to that honor, like that, and that respect. So it's juicy. And I think that, like, I'm 47 now. So what is that, 24 years or something like that?
Yes.
And I feel like I'm finally able to say, like, okay, everything I've learned from all these different, in my bio, all these different avenues, it's come to the land and the eagles,
Mm.
it turns me on, Sister Goddess Kaelen, and I'd love to hear what your connection is to this, but it's listening to the spirit animals, like listening to symbolism, listening to nature. Like that's how Goddess speaks to me. And so when I got to this place that I'm
Mm.
now, the eagles were like just flying and flying and like singing out. And I knew, okay, because it hasn't been like that. I'll be honest with you. Like it's been challenging, like continuing to be called in to work in like communities where like the history is pretty thick, and it still goes on. We have colonialism still happening. We have assimilation still happening for marginalized peoples and like Indigenous people. So it's been such a gift for me to keep asking questions and keep learning, but then also offer, because I have such gifts and such skill to offer to Indigenous peoples, all peoples. I mean, I work with both Indigenous peoples and other, cultures and people from different races and backgrounds. So I feel very lucky, I suppose, or I feel very honored that great pussy in the sky, goddess, God, creator, has given me all these opportunities to work with a variety and a diversity of people. And it keeps me on my toes and it keeps me learning, and I make mistakes and I just keep growing. So,
As you were in the very beginning, when you had mentioned, the land calling you, the eagles calling you, nature calling you. When I started my business back in 2016, and I've always been a spiritual being myself as well. Like I look at life through spiritual lenses. And unfortunately, my rose-colored glasses are back home because I'm in Nebraska right now. So
yeah.
but I got the red line. So because today's Valentine's Day, we're just bringing this love. But one of the things that when I really went into this space of receiving from the universe, from spirit, from God, from Goddess, and religious conditioning has a way of just thinking it's only one way.
Mm,
And so it was so beautiful because I would go out on these walks and I would just be like, and it started to click in me. It's like nature has all the answers. Every
mm,
single answer is housed in nature, from sacred geometry in the rose, sacred geometry in the plants, sacred geometry in the trees, sacred geometry everywhere. Like all of the answers that we need in our life, we receive from nature. And so
mm,
well, I would go out on walks and I would just say, okay, Mama Nature, speak to me. What message do you have for me today? And I am the type of person that loves to go, what's the spiritual meaning of this? What's the spiritual meaning of that? There's
mm,
this bird that's just flown in front of my face. What is the spiritual meaning? Because I know that there are messages here. And the winged creatures, all of them have always brought me massive, massive gifts and information. Every critter that crawls in the tree, that slides on the ground, that flies in the air, that walks, that crawls, I know that there are divine messages, and when I wake up, I am in connection.
mm,
You are in this sacred place that is the amplification of that
mm,
knowledge and sacred wisdom
mm,
is
mm,
everywhere. It's
mhm.
it's tangible, isn't it?
Well, it is tangible. And I think that the really amazing thing is that we are now being like supported to live like that, like all of us, and everybody. So I believe that we're all on, our unique journeys. We all have a very particular consciousness level, and there's different levels. Doesn't mean one's like better than the other. It just means we're more, there's like we can listen differently, we hear differently, we sense differently, and it's going to inform our soul and our humanness at different capacities and frequencies.
Yes.
But because of where we are, because we're birthing a new earth, and
Yes.
I think this is where pleasure comes in. And I'd love to share a little bit about how pleasure kind of came into my life, but it's like we are now understanding pleasure at a heightened level, like at that spiritual level. So, like, it's the tabooness of it, even sexuality, the tabooness of sexuality is getting kind of like blown up so that we can start to see it and feel it in our spiritual selves and our humanness in like a full new sacred way. Like, yeah.
Okay, I am so turned on right now because I'm just like, it's so cosmic, so big, so expansive. To say the word universe doesn't even seem like it's big enough. Cosmic is what it feels like.
Mm-hmm,
And as
mm-hmm,
you're bringing this in, like, I'm just, like, the pleasure has to be heightened because where we are going as humanity
mm-hmm,
requires that we steep in the truth of who we are, and
mm-hmm.
pleasure is our truth, our birthright. And we as women, we have one organ and we know what that organ is. We know what it is, right? She's only for pleasure. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not divine design. That is. And these women are waking up to this fact. And the beautiful men are waking up to their divine masculinity. And the
Mm-hmm.
balance of divine masculine and divine feminine are happening in you and I. And those of us in the pleasure revolution are at the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 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 yes. And I want to frame and echo back like that importance of the divine masculine, because I do think that in this like feminine rising and in this pleasure revolution, and even in like the what would I call it, maybe the fallout of feminism, there was like a maybe a bit of a patriarchal thumb on masculinity. And so masculine forms, male masculinity also has to be acknowledged and like taken care of, and I think in my own personal journey, something happened over the holidays, like over Christmas, where I was alone for the first time. And that's a big deal because I grew up in a house that was very traditional. I grew up in a house where, like, Christmas was about family, Christmas was about giving and receiving and food and indulgence. And I chose to be completely alone this year and go in silence for 7 days. And I did that because I knew something was birthing and I knew I needed to prepare for 2025. On Christmas Day, I opened a gift because my dear blood family, my sisters and parents, they sent me gifts. And this was one of them. And I opened it up and I started to cry because I was like, they see me. There was something about being seen by my blood family because sometimes I feel a little bit like, just different and unique and not living like them. We all love each other. But so I'm crying, I'm opening this up. And then I feel into myself and I'm like, I felt sovereignty for the first time. I felt the masculine and the feminine in a way that was true, pleasurable happiness, like a unity. And this is, as we talk about in our pleasure coaching certification, it's like we have to embody it before we can bring it out into the world. And in that moment, I felt like the queen in her throne, and I felt the king in my internal throne. And so it was brilliant. And I'm so glad you brought up the divine masculine because I see it being left out from time to time, and I really wanted to honor it today too.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Like, I can't even begin to tell you, I repeated goosebumps keep going. Like, Like they just keep zinging back and forth in my being. And I feel like there are so many of us. I know I am going through a new birth. I know you are. There are so many that I personally know in my personal circle of influence that are going through massive rebirth. And let's take a look at where we're at. We
Mhm.
are now in this age of Aquarius.
Mhm.
We have closed off a 16-year cycle. We closed off a 2100-year cycle. We closed off a 26,000-year cycle.
Mhm.
And here we are opening up all of those again. And is as it seems anymore.
Yeah.
Things must collapse, die away. I don't even know how many ego deaths I have had since the middle of December of last year.
Mhm.
Multiple. And that's just me. And I know that others are having the same exact experience because where we're going and what we are meant to do, especially those of us that are on this front line of this pleasure revolution, is
Mhm.
to be able to be in our purest sovereign state,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. It's like, we have these buzzwords, sovereignty. What are a couple of others that I've recently like, it's almost like they get cliche because it's like, on Instagram or wherever social media. And I feel like cliche happens for a reason. We have these buzzwords for a reason. We have to we have to dialect on them. We have to like debate them. We have to understand what they mean for ourselves.
Yeah,
Because yeah, we could throw the word out like, oh, sovereignty, I'm sovereign. I'm like I support people to be sovereign, but it's like, what does that actually mean? And
yeah,
I think it comes back to values and like rooting it into our humanness. Because of course, the human being, Pam Gregory is someone I love on YouTube, and she offered the like we're shifting from human Homo sapien to Homo luminescens,
yes,
right?
completely.
So, but at the same time as we do that, our density, like our humanness, and the interactions that we have with our with our others with our other fellow beings here, like there's like a stillness. That's why the center is going to be sexuality, sovereignty,
Mm.
stillness, because we have to bring like an embodiment stillness. And I love the dancing. I love when we get like, when we're getting those chemicals on, and we're like uplifting ourselves with all those awesome hormones. But then it's like, okay, this is a mudra that I just love. And it's kind of like my alignment sovereign mudra. Yeah, it's like, one hand over the other and just
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
yeah.
powerful. Oh,
Yeah, it comes through the line of like teachers and of the shaman line, and it's just
mm.
yeah, it's a beautiful mudra that one of my energy medicine women offered me years ago in my own, in one of my ego deaths, one of my big transformational experiences, and it's kept with me for probably a decade now. And so yeah, it's a good one too. And not only these mudras, right? We need to have these conversations. We need to talk with our children. We need to support them, the children of the world. I don't have children yet. I am on the path to bring a being here, but yeah, yeah.
There is just so much richness in this conversation. There is so much depth. There is so much stillness.
Hmm.
Like, let's just sit here for just a moment in this stillness.
I
Let's
would love to
do
do
that.
that. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is it doesn't take much to sit in the stillness. Literally a few seconds, and we're at that home space. We have tapped back in, and I feel as you are talking about your beautiful center,
Mm.
because we are going to these and transitioning into these illumined bodies, these crystalline bodies,
Mm.
it requires that we come back into the truth and the stillness of who we are, because that's when we receive that direct communication
Mhm.
and we're able to block out what it literally is not serving us. I've been, I had the opportunity last weekend of going to a networking event, a live one, which was super great. And one of the women that I connected with, she was a presenter at the event. And she said 99% of the beliefs that we have are not ours, that are limited beliefs. They are not ours.
Mhm.
And so, as a practice, I have consciously chosen on a multiple times a day basis
Mm.
to say, this is not my energy. If I'm
Mm.
feeling anxious or nervous or da, 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 or worried, like I'm just like, this is not my energy. And instantly it goes away. And then I'm back into the stillness of me. And what I find there is I find pleasure.
Yeah.
I find that juicy pleasure. And then my mind gets very expansive. Yes. Talk to
Yeah.
me about this feather. Oh my gosh, my goddess. Yes.
Well, I'll frame back what happened as you shared that. And
Yeah.
I also want to, because I have the honor and privilege of being in an incredible training with you, I want to ask you, was that networking event the one that you were bragging about, like when you had eyes turning towards you? Oh,
Yeah.
I loved that brag so much. It touched my heart, my pussy, like my whole sacredness so deeply to imagine you walking in that space because you do. I mean, you have such turn on energy. You shine so bright. You're radiant. Like I have to get tears talking about it. So thank you for that brag. Thank you for bringing that up right now. And what
Thank
I will
you.
share about what that led me into as you were talking about that was like when we bring ourselves into stillness. So I do a lot of this work with my clients and in my own world, like stripping away or like working through transmuting limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
figuring out which ones are where it doesn't even necessarily matter where they come from. I mean, sometimes going down that path will allow for transmutation, will allow for like integration of the shadow side if you actually follow like where does this limiting belief come from.
Hmm.
That put aside, what happened is as you were talking about the stillness coming in, I saw this pool, like this still pool of you or of me,
Mm,
and like looking in to that stillness
mm,
as like almost like the watery womb space and seeing the reflection of you or self coming back. And then I picked up this feather because this feather is a vulture feather. And this kind of brings me back to the beginning of our conversation of listening and paying attention to the guides. And I knew that I was meant to be gifted. Like I knew it was coming, a vulture feather.
mm,
And I had asked Creator, I said, I believe you're sending me a vulture feather. And days went by. Eventually, vultures were walking outside my house, and I was like, okay, this might be the time in which it's coming. One day, I'm walking along the road, and I think I'm going to cross the road. And sure enough, one vulture feather is sitting in the ditch, just like that. And I, thank Creator, thank Universe, thank Vulture for offering. And then I start learning because this is a lot of my medicine is that comes through me is working with winged ones and with feathers. And this is a feather of purity. Like it offers, like it clears it. It brings in like crystal clear focus of what's next for myself, for any beings that I'm working with. It clears out the muddledness. So like when you're talking about belief, limiting beliefs or shifting beliefs, this feather has come in great service to those I work with and to like my own mission, when I'm going through, because of course I've got a big mission. I'm gonna stumble. I've got limiting beliefs that I'm still moving through. So this feather and working with the medicine, sacred, sage and cedar and tobacco and all these gifts I've been offered by teaching through Indigenous peoples and my own ancestry. This feather is the cat's meow. Like it just like has
Yes,
brought it all together.
it totally is. You pull that up and I'm like, ooh, there is something big and holy and sacred right there. And that spiritual meaning of clarity of vision. Like
Do
that's
you know of the vulture? Like, do you know that being that like the big turkey vulture?
no, expand on that. I need to learn more, please.
Can I show you a picture?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, always, always, always.
So let's see if we can okay. You see it there?
Tilt it down just a bit. Yep, there we go. Because got the shine off of it. You see it. Yep.
Okay, so that's the turkey vulture. And the medicine of all these different beings, like the turkey vulture, like its saliva kills absolutely every type of bacteria, every type of like anything that could be it. So when it goes to a carcass on the ground, it actually like urinates and like saliva all over the carcass to kill any of the bacteria so that it can eat it, but so that raven can come down and eat it, crow and rats and other beings. So it's a cleaner. It just cleans up things for us on
Purifier.
this earth.
It's it's a purifier. It's a cleaner. It is. I had no idea.
I know, I know. And I'm, it's interesting because I'm sharing this because it totally turns me on and it's very much in my pleasure. But
Yes.
it also actually links, and maybe you know more about this than I do, but my sacred feminine touch ceremony works with the whole sacred body, and then it focuses on the yoni. So in the tantric Sanskrit, that's the Sanskrit word for vagina or pussy.
Yeah.
And in this work, it's a tantric based modality, sacred feminine touch ceremony.
Mm.
And I'm showing this because the yoni is this place of self cleansing, right? It's like the universe of our own sacred system cleanses itself. And so I'm just making this connection right now. You're like, oh, Vulture came to me and offered me this. I'm now a ceremonialist for this type of modality, bringing women into absolutely deep experiences that cleanse them. Most of the people I've been holding space for in Sacred Feminine Touch ceremony have like massive cleansing experiences,
Yeah.
clearing out traumas, clearing out like lineage, past blood, lineage work,
Yeah.
deep, deep stuff. So I'm just kind of like, oh, this is all coming together in a really neat way right now.
Okay. Do you see the lights going off? I'm like, choo, choo, choo.
I know it's a
It's
lot.
so powerful because here is this confirmation, this knowing that the path is right, it is pure, and it is true.
Mm,
That you are exactly where you are meant to be. And as you are talking, I know that I know I'm exactly where I am meant to be.
yeah.
Being able to help women heal and release trauma.
Mm,
Because let's be honest, it's not theirs.
yeah.
It's not their energy. It has either happened ancestrally or has happened physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, spiritually to them from
Mm-hmm.
someone else, and they have claimed it as theirs.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
walk around, every woman walks around with this sacred holy vessel called a womb. We like to call it a pussy as well, a
Mm-hmm.
yoni, We have this space, and it literally is exactly as you just described it. It is pure, it is self-cleaning. As
Mhm.
Mama Gina says, she who bleeds and does not die.
Mhm.
And here we are in the year of the snake, shedding all of our old self, becoming more pure, sanctified, holy, pleasurable, because it is the right of every single woman
Mm.
to own and accept and receive this gift.
Mm.
The holiness is just too pure. And you and I, this conversation, I know you feel it because
Mm.
I feel it. There
Mm.
are the unseen world is buzzing big time because of this conversation and
I
where this is meant to go.
I feel it, Sister Goddess, and I feel it as tears, and I have this like knowing energy, and I can feel the infinity, that sign, this of that sacred like eight moving
Yep.
between us as we flow and we honor like our missions, our desire to support women, and I will say that I desire to support men. I've had a great honor and privilege of having a lot of male clients come to me, and
Mm.
it has come to me like naturally that they feel comfortable speaking about anything and everything. And so
Mhm.
I'm deeply like humbled again, and continuing to learn how to support women and men and other beings that identify in different ways sexually. Like, how do I support them to become sovereign in their sexuality? So coming back to that Unity Art Center, it's like it has to be sexuality,
Yeah. Mm.
sovereignty, and stillness. Like the sexual piece, I don't know, 80 something, 90 something percent of the people I've worked with in my private practice in the last 5 years has been like it always comes to sexuality. Even in my youth programs, if I go back to other, like, I'm a trained teacher and such, and it's like that spot. It's our first chakra, right? First and second chakra. If we don't talk about sexuality, we're missing. We're missing
Legit.
that the plug-in,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this begs the question,
Hmm.
your journey to pleasure.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Okay. I would love to share this. Thank you. What a perfect moment, actually. I've got tears in my eyes. I'm a crier. You might be able to trace me back to the Whalers of Ireland. Like I can just let it out. And my path with pleasure is that's the question, right? If I
yeah,
distill that,
absolutely.
okay. Okay, thank you. Um, I want to honor the story, and I'll just tell a tiny little bit of like I was awakened to sexuality. You might say too early. It just happened that my path was very early, the different experiences that I had, different boundary violations and such. And so there was this awakened energy already in me.
Mhm.
So that led me to explore and really push my edges throughout my teenage years and into my 20s. And so I was exploring pleasure, but not necessarily embodied.
Ooh. Ooh.
Now, through my like choice to start doing my own therapy and study psychotherapy and yoga, and like I started to embody it. I started to embody the experiences I had and kind of tease out the trauma of it and work on it, and then start to own, wow, I really, I'm really drawn to pleasure. And is that a bad thing? So in 2008, I was living at Yashodhara Ashram, this gorgeous ashram in the Kootenays of British Columbia in Canada.
Mm.
And I went there because I hit rock bottom and I was either going to be hospitalized or like, there was all this like go on antidepressants, da da da. And so it was my rock bottom moment. I chose to go to an ashram and start to self study and went deep into a program called the Yoga Development Program.
Mm.
And there was a prayer we were supposed to read. And I'd love to share it. Would that be? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So the prayer is called it's called Divine Mother.
Mm.
Oh, Divine Mother. May all my speech and idle talk be mantra. All actions of my hands be mudra. All eating and drinking be the offering of oblations unto thee. All lying down prostrations before thee. May all pleasures be as dedicating my entire self unto thee. May everything I do be taken as thy worship.
Mm.
I
Mm.
could not say that line, Sister Goddess Kaelen. I could not say, may all pleasures be as dedicating my entire self unto thee. And I actually have tears right now. I could not say that line without bursting into tears. And in that moment, I was 30. I was like, what's going on? Why can't I say pleasures? Why do I feel weird about dedicating this pleasure to the Divine Mother? Like, and we were studying that we did deep spiritual study, and we were studying that prayer like for days. We had to write it and read it and write it, like sing it, and I was like every time. So that was the opening for me. That was like the curiosity was like, what is going on with the word pleasure? So it took me on a whole path.
Mm.
And then when I saw the pleasure coaching and I saw like I wanted to jump in and I was freaked out. Like I was like, I'm gonna be a pleasure coach. Like I'm gonna bring this into the rest of my work that I'm doing. But I knew it was the thing that ties it all together. Like when I went back to that poem and back to when I was 30, I was like, oh, this has to be interwoven. It has to be part of the golden threads and the red threads of my service.
The golden and red thread. Expound on that. That is powerful.
Oh, well, when I go back to that time, gold, the energy of gold, the master healer, it started to touch me in that time of like discovering this poem, this prayer, and like who I am, and what pleasure had offered me up until that time, how to take. So gold is a lot the master healer of like shifting and changing and transmutation. And so to apply gold medicine
Mm.
to my traumatic experiences with pleasure and like those, and then to find that as strength
Yeah.
and then birth into other services that I was like, who I am and how I serve. But the red thread,
Mm.
so that golden thread has been like part of my Christ consciousness, my love shamanic energy that I offer when I'm for myself and for who I serve. The red thread is coming, and I'm seeing that it's been around, and it's all through Magdalene energy. It's the left side of the Christ path. So Jesus came to me at the ashram, and I didn't grow up in a home that like held religion in any particular way. But Jesus started to show up, and I was like, "Oh, Jesus!" And learning. So I started learning about that Christ path from the masculine perspective. But then Magdalene is really coming in just in this last year or so, like specifically starting with this pleasure coaching. And I'm seeing that those threads are coming together and giving me strength to serve at even a higher level, particularly in that sacred feminine touch ceremony, because I just get out of the way and become the conduit held by those threads. So it's like,
Okay,
wow.
you like again because Christ has always been a big part of my existence. And when I completed my marriage 3.5 years ago, the first time that I heard the thought that Mary Magdalene and Christ would be intimate, would be each other's soulmate, lover, I was like, oh, no, because in my Christian belief, that's not a thing, you know? And then I was like, things started to shift. And it's so interesting that you say this because the past, I'm at this crossroad in my life, in this now moment, right here, where I am at this crossroad of religious conditioning and pleasure, right here. And all I can see, all that is before me the entire time is Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, Jesus and Mary. That's all. That's all I see. And I literally see this intertwining, and I know the role that she played in helping him be who he needed to be, and his role in helping her be who she was required to be. And as you're talking, I'm like, this is my same exact experience, and it's continuing to evolve and come through. And if you were to talk to Sister Goddess Meg Williams, this is her sacred work
Mm-hmm.
with Mary Magdalene. And so the rose, I can't even like the rose is everywhere. Every time I turn around, there's a rose, and I got this red behind me. Like you can't make this stuff up, right? So this
Absolutely.
right, this intertwining, and isn't this interesting? We're both given our individual message from the divine
Mm-hmm.
through the lens of our specific experiences, gifts, and talents. More than likely, the message is going to be pretty similar, but the way that we're going to share it is going to be different out into the world, but it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
isn't that just another, what are your thoughts on that?
well, I hearing your like who you're serving and who your heart and your pussy is being like drawing you to serve, it's touched me very deeply. I feel like, and in fact, it would be beautiful would you be willing to share it, like to say what it is so that I can hear it right now and speak to it, because I have like a paraphrased way in which I understand your mission and your service, but it would be good to hear it right now, and then I'll speak more clearly to it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, helping women heal from sexual trauma around religious conditioning and patriarchy, and whatever that religious condition is or patriarchy situation, and guiding them back into their truth, their divine right of pleasure, being able to heal after trauma, and that we are all meant to be in pleasure regardless of what trauma we've experienced.
Oh, that's such a turn on. It gives, again, the tears in my eyes. Um, yeah, it's so, I mean, certainly part of the work that I do, and I'm so passionate about it, and particularly because of my connection in with working with Indigenous peoples who have had a massive amount of history around sexual abuse and trauma in residential schools, and the whole system of the day schools and the residential assimilation desire and where it shows up still. So I see your service as being like absolutely crucial for the wake up of us human beings, of us soul beings having a human journey. It's like learning how to transmute that trauma, because we are not heading into, we are heading into an existence that is an existence of thriving, not surviving. But in order to get to that place where we are thriving, we do have to heal or free ourselves from the energy of what it is to be survivors of trauma, of sexual abuse. So there's work to be done in this area, and it needs you, it needs I, who have the courage and the call to do it.
Yeah.
So high five, sister. High five.
I sit here and I'm just like, the goddess knows.
The goddess knows.
The God knows.
Yeah, the God knows.
The universe, spirit, the angels, the guides, the guardians, they all know.
Yeah.
And we have been called specifically to do this sacred work at such a time as this. At such a time as this, let's be clear. You and I are in this program.
Mm.
We started it when we were still in a different energy.
Yeah.
We will be ending this in a dynamically 180-degree different energy.
Yeah.
We are part of that transition of shifting because we chose to do something that would be greater, bigger, more bold, and yet absolutely required, and we didn't shrink. I know there have been times I've absolutely wanted to shrink.
Yep.
I'm good. There's this drive that's like, no, can't. There are too many that are begging for you.
Yeah.
Sister
Yeah.
Goddess Ahnuusha, there are too many that are begging for you. There are too many that are begging for us. There are too many that are begging for every single woman that has
Yeah.
made the conscious choice to be a pleasure revolutionary and be able to do this sacred and holy work. I have
Mm.
no fucking idea where it's going to go, what it's going to look like, what we're going to be up against or not up against. But I know that and you know, we both know, we wouldn't be any other place than right here.
Yes. Yes.
Right here.
Yes.
Right? Like my pussy's going, just love this.
I'll bring one. I don't know. I know that, we're more than likely going to bring this to a close soon, but you just
Yes.
said something that was really important that I think I imagine your pussy and my pussy want to honor in this space. And that is the sistering and the community. Like when you said, that we may be up against things like that, we want to, like, there's times where we want to shrivel up. I mean, you've seen me on some of the calls, right? Where I'm like,
You know,
who am I? Get me out of here.
don't call me.
So I want to share that because it's like, thank God and thank God that we're being witnessed. And I know that one of the new iterations of myself, like the new frequency that's coming on board here online, is that by being witnessed, it's like by being witnessed, that frequency comes back into me in sistering and in sisterhood in a way that it never ever have. Like it never has. Like I've gone through lots of transformation. I've done a lot of community type stuff, but there's something about the sisterhood and that's just blowing me up and into a new goddess.
In these last moments, what is it that you are being called to share even on a deeper level? Like this sisterhood, this is huge. And I am so there with you. And I see you and I and all of us in this space of pleasure, making serious community of sisterhood. We require it now more than any time in the history of this world. Sisterhood is now, and we get to help create and hold because we know how to do it. We know how to hold that sacred space. Ooh, ooh, it's so hot. It's so juicy.
Oh, it is so hot and so juicy. And all I'll add to that is that the difference between a responsibility and an honor. And this just came online in a sisterhood experience this morning where I was feeling like I've got a responsibility to show up for humans on this earth right now. And the sister goddess Kate, she said, could you switch the word responsibility? And I was like, well, no, because it is. But she offered a word honor. I think it was Sister Goddess Sheila offered the word honor. It's my honor. So when I hear you talk about like that we're needed right now and that we're being called, it's like it's an honor to be serving. And I'm imagining you feel that way, but I just want to say that out loud right now. It's an honor to serve you. If beauty beings, goddesses, gods, fellow human beings having having a human journey, spirit beings, if you feel the calling, it's an honor to serve you. Like it's like show up, be courageous, and ask for what you want, and let us serve you. Yeah.
Yes.
In pleasure.
Oh my gosh. And in closing, because I really love this. What is your outrageous dare?
Oh, my outrageous dare for you.
Yes, for all listeners, what is your outrageous dare from this beautiful conversation? Dig in
Mm.
deep because I know I feel it already bubbling up. I literally feel it coming up from my pussy up, and I know it's coming out of you. And I'm just excited to hear what that outrageous dare is.
Okay, the outrageous dare that's coming through. I'm actually gonna put it on a spectrum, so
Mm.
I can speak to like a range of
Mhm.
beautiful folk. So I outrageously dare you
Mm.
to to flirt with yourself and to bring some pleasure into like when you look at yourself in the mirror, just hey, gorgeous. No matter who you are and how you walk in your life, that you start to wink at yourself.
Mm.
Now that's one side of the spectrum. All the way over here, we're going to look at sexual organs. We're going to look at pussy. We're going to look at cock. We're going to look at the genitalia. My outrageous dare is for you, and this comes right from Mama Gina's book, Pussy Reclamation. Look at yourself. Start to understand yourself from your genitalia, from that place that's between our legs, this power center. Start to hear the voice and understand the sacred part of our being.
Yes, 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 yes. I accept that outrageous dare. And I keep getting the words of Maya Angelou that Mama G shares. Look at the diamond between your legs,
Mm,
at your thighs, right? The diamond between your thighs.
absolutely. Yes, yes, and yes.
Sister Goddess Anusha, this has been epic, transformational, transcendent, sitting in my own sexuality, my
Mm,
own sovereignty, my own stillness. I am in awe at the sacred work that you are honored and privileged and blessed to create, give birth to, and bring to this world. Thank you for being here today
mm,
and sharing your love, your light, your amazing, beautiful, powerful shamanic energy, and just all of you.
mm.
Mm. And for those
Thank
of you that are here, thank you. Yes. Please, please hit the like button, the subscribe button,
you.
share this with those that you know for a fact would benefit deeply from this sacred and holy conversation
Mm,
that Goddess Anusha and I have experienced
mm.
this day. I give you great thanks, my love. This has been so powerful and epic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time.